Welcome to the Strategy of Everything. My name is Dave Thomas. This episode is called The Strategy of Brand Positioning, and I interviewed the founder of SHFT Agency. His name is Jason Vanna. He is an expert in the field of brand positioning, brand strategy, and key messaging, and especially customer centricity. And the biggest message I got from Jason through this conversation is the importance of digging in and really understanding your ideal customer. So if you don't understand your ideal customer, it could be causing you tons and tons of different symptoms, different pain points that you're not even aware of. And so I want you to think about that as you're listening to this conversation. Are some of the tactics, some of the things that you've tried and failed, are those because you missed the mark on who your main customer actually is? So without further ado, here's my conversation with Jason Vanna from SHFT Agency. Thanks for taking the time to chat and talk a little bit about branding and strategy and marketing and all that kind of good stuff. Why don't you give us a little intro about SHFT Agency and how you got to kind of this point?
Yeah. So I started SHFT about 5 years ago now, I believe. Kind of all blended into one giant year. And basically we are a brand positioning agency. So what we do is go into small and medium-sized businesses, help them uncover what I call their onlyness, or the thing that unique value they bring to the market, what you can only get from them. So we help them to uncover it. What is it that they're doing that's unique? And then help them to own it throughout their marketing, branding, even through their operations and the offer that they bring to the market and all that. So we work primarily with a lot of industrial and manufacturing companies, but we also work with B2B service. So really just kind of going in and helping them to uncover what makes them different so that they can stand out in the market and become the only choice.
So one of the components of the strategy of everything, one of the tools is called the Advantage Mirror. And what it is designed to do is help individuals or teams, or in this case, companies, kind of reflect on who they are to find their, we call their unfair advantage. And so every person, every team, every company is going to have it. And so we use that tool to have people reflect on, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your unique experiences that make you, different? And what are your values? And those kind of four things generally lead conversations around helping to figure out but because we've done this or I've done this, then we are better suited to do X or Y or Z. And then apply that back to, one of the risks or one of the opportunities of the strategy that you're trying to evolve. So it's interesting that's, almost where your entire company is, the value comes from, is helping people uncover that for their company. So what's the process you guys go through to help, uncover something like that most people know inherently, but haven't ever really kind of thought through?
Yeah. So a lot of our clients that come to us, they don't really know what makes them different. So a lot of times they'll fall into this, well, we care about our clients and that's what makes us different. And while that might and I understand in some industries, especially when we're talking industrial manufacturing, even in a lot of B2B service companies, this idea of actually caring for your customers might be different. Your competitors might not actually care, might not treat their clients and really try to build that success for their clients. But no company actually says that. No company's like, yeah, we don't really care about you. Every company says we care about our clients. So even if that is something you do different in the industry, it's not really an onlyness, or it's not really a differentiator because everyone says it, which means most clients don't actually believe it. So what we do, if a client onboards with us to help them find their onlyness, we start with a lot of market research. So we're going to look into their competitors, help them uncover, some of our clients come in and are like, these are our competitors. We know who they are. Some come in and are like, I don't know who my competitors are. I don't have competitors, which I laugh at because I'm like, you do. A lot of times we think of competitors as people who sell exactly what we sell, but really competitors are alternatives that customers have for giving their money to solve this problem. So while I'm a brand positioning agency, a competitor might be a sales enablement company because my customers might look at branding and might look at sales and say, well, really the issue is sales. So we're gonna hire someone to help us with that. So we do market research, uncover who their competitors are, what their competitors are doing, how are they positioned, how are they finding their clients, like what's attracting them, how are they trying to position themselves in the market, what their offers are. If we can, we dig up what is their pricing, and then we look at a lot of their, like, what's the type of content that they're creating, what marketing are they doing, is that marketing being effective? So we do this really deep dive into the market, understand the industry as a whole, and understand their competitors. Then we do a series of workshops with them. Now, we can do brand identity, we can do the purpose, mission, vision, values if they want. A lot of our clients, though, when they come to us, they're looking more for what do we need to do to generate revenue? We don't really care about the purpose statement that's going to hang in the office. Like, they see that kind of stuff as fluff. And to be honest, in some instances, it is fluff. Like a lot of companies have a mission statement that they hang up on the wall, they send to all their employees, but they don't actually live it. And so we start with their offer. And what I mean by that is we dive into what is it that they're bringing to the market? What are their processes? What's the deliverables? Really, I tell our clients, like, this is for me to understand what you're selling. If I don't understand it, I can't brand it correctly. I can't write messaging for it. So I need to fully understand it. I have them like show me pictures, show me documents, screen share. We go to their facilities if that's the case, and really dive into what is it you're bringing to the market. And in that workshop, we're also trying to figure out, is there a way to sell this easier? Um, so for like one client, they do website and all of the tech that you need around a website. So like if you need the email marketing system and you need the website to push into a CRM and you need that to put, like, they build that whole experience. And what we found in that offer workshop is that they were doing this very extensive discovery process to build out a proposal. So they would do multiple meetings with prospects. They would like go out and test. If they were saying Active Campaign's a platform you should build on, they would go out and test it to make sure that was true, that it would work for this prospect before they even built a proposal. And I was like, that's a lot of work for free. I would not do that amount of work for free if it was my business. So we developed a way for them to sell their $30,000 to $100,000 offer easier. So that's kind of what the offer workshop is. Then we do a deep dive into their customers. We do segmentation to understand who are those ideal customers, and then what did those customers need to hear from you? What's that buying journey? What's the problem that they face? So we do a deep dive into understanding their customers from every perspective. So we always require like sales and marketing and C-suite and customer service to be in the room together while we do this. So we gather the insights from like a low-level salesperson that is probably going to be different than what the CEO thinks, because the low-level salesperson is actually in the sales call hearing what their clients need to hear. And then we do a differentiation workshop to really uncover, what is this unique value? How are we going to communicate it? What's the verbiage we want to use? From there, then we make a rough draft of their entire brand strategy, messaging, what's that unique value? What are the touch points throughout marketing, operations, and sales that you need to build out so that people feel this differentiation in every interaction with you? We do like a homepage review, give them like, this is what needs to change on your website to better communicate this. So it really is a lot of working with their team to uncover something that they're already doing that's different. They just don't realize it.
And can't articulate it, I think, which
Yeah.
is the biggest challenge. So that's, I mean, that's a significant amount of work. If when you look at like, oh, we do positioning, you know, and so you've been able to craft this, you've obviously put yourself through that rigor to figure
Right.
out what it is that makes you different, that makes you be able to have it. And that came out as this positioning concept, because it sounds like you're doing a hell of a lot more than than that, really, to but that's the point of Spear, right? Like, so how did you come to that for yourself? How many iterations of brand strategy a will help you, create this thing for you until
Yeah.
you were like, oh shit, people are like, this is the one thing I keep saying, that they're like, okay, take my money.
Yeah. So when we started Shift, I kind of had this idea of trying to be like a fractional CMO. I've been a CMO, and have driven like millions of dollars of revenue for the companies I worked for as an employee, and was like, you know what, I could do this for multiple companies and make money. So when I started Shift, it was I can do everything marketing wise. And what was happening was all the leads that we generated, it all came back to they couldn't communicate who their ideal customers were, and they couldn't communicate why those people should buy from them. And so the whole time that Shift has been in existence, that's always been the two questions I've asked in discovery calls is like, why you, and who are you going after? And if they can't answer that, it's a clear sign that they don't have the foundation of their business built. Because when you look at marketing, when you look at sales, when you even look at creating an offer to bring to the market, if you don't know why people should buy from you and who those people are, none of the rest of it actually works. Like, we've had clients that came to us after trying to run Google ads for a year, spent over $100,000 on ads and generated zero in revenue. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. And it's not the Google ads agency you worked with was crappy. Now, maybe that was the case, but I'm like, you can't even sit here and tell me why someone should buy from you in 3 to 7 seconds. You don't get a half hour to an hour to explain it in a Google ad. So if you can't explain it quickly, it's not going to work. So what was happening was all these companies that were reaching out, like, I need help with my marketing, they didn't have the foundation in place. So all of my pitches were, well, before we do those Google ads, before we do those LinkedIn ads, before we create that logo for you, we need to figure out what is the unique value you bring to the market, and how are we going to communicate it so that people understand it? Because if you don't have that in place, nothing else works. So that took about a few months for me to kind of wrap my head around that, like, every single person I'm talking to needs this help. And so that's kind of when I was like, okay, I'm not doing Facebook ads. I'm not doing Google ads. I can do all that. I've done all that for years. But I was like, one, I don't enjoy it, so I don't want to do it anymore. And two is like, these people think they need Facebook ads, but really what they need is this brand strategy, a positioning strategy. And so we've gone through multiple iterations of what that looks like. And I think that's normal for most companies, because originally we were attracting smaller companies. We were attracting a lot of solopreneurs, and what they need to hear is very different than the type of companies we attract now. Like, we needed those case studies. We needed that track record to be able to say, here are the 20 companies in your industry that we've worked with, that we've generated $20 million in new revenue for. I couldn't say that before. So now that we can say that, who we target is different as the company's grown, which happens with most companies. But really, we actually are working on a new iteration right now. It's going to be launching hopefully in April with a new website, new brand look and stuff for us. Um, but that stuff kind of takes time to understand what makes you different. And as you attract higher level clients, that differentiation will maybe not completely change. Like, we're not we're not like throwing away. It's not like we did brand strategy and positioning now and we're going to switch to sales enablement. We're not completely changing. We're doing the same thing. We've just realized that for all of our clients that have coming in, the biggest problem that we are solving for them is they don't know how to generate new leads. They have a great successful product. They've been successful for a while, but revenue has stagnated or started to decline. Maybe there's a new competitor in the market, but really what's come down to is they're like, we don't know how to communicate this and we don't know how to market it. A lot of them don't have marketing departments. So now it's this mix of we uncover your onlyness, how to communicate it, and we develop out a full marketing strategy for you. So you know what channels to market on, and on each channel, what should you specifically be doing? So it's helping a lot of these companies that maybe have a one-person marketing team or no marketer to really understand this is what makes us different, and this is how we generate new leads and new clients now. So that's kind of taken a few years for us to get to that marketing side, but we soft launched it last month, and every client we've pitched this to, every prospect we've pitched this to, has basically been in the discovery call. Send me a contract, take my money. I don't know how to communicate, and I don't know how to market. This is like every problem we've come up against. We don't even know if we should be doing Google ads, let alone if we should, what should we be doing? So it's for us, it's kind of been this evolution of helping so many companies and having our clients come back to us and being like, we know our differentiation. You gave us a great logo. You built us a great website. How do we do marketing now?
Now what?
Yeah. And that's the struggle. So that's kind of how we've revamped who we are to really help them, is kind of this, who we're focusing on. We're not going to attract a Nike, and I'm okay with that. Nike isn't our ideal customer. The customers that we work with don't know marketing. And so it's an evolution of that offer we're bringing to the market.
Yeah, I think like one thing that you mentioned there that resonates. I mean, I think a lot of companies start looking for marketing help, and they're just really talking about channels or things that they think they should do, or they heard a podcast and so, one of the things we always ask is like, well, why? Like, oh, we need to do SEO. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you need to do that? And usually you get through a couple layers of why before you realize, oh, actually,
Yeah.
we just don't know. I don't know. We just think we should. Um, so how do you, and you've obviously, it sounds like you've gone through the same thing. So we talk about like, what are your business, the fundamentals of your business, right? Like, do you know your business model? Do you know how you make money? Do you know how
Yeah.
you spend money? Do you know who you're talking to? It's all kind of like, we have those business model canvas type of conversations with people, and in an interesting, similar kind of client space where they don't necessarily know marketing at all anyway. And so they're just jumping to like, we have to do everything and be everywhere. And you have to work through that desire to do everything, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like, you can go an inch in 12 different directions, or you can go a foot in one, and you don't
Right.
know which one of those directions to go in yet.
Well, and I think that's the problem for a lot of businesses is, realistically, in an ideal world, you would do everything. Like, you do need SEO because your website probably isn't ranking on Google. But is that the channel that you need to invest in now
Right
in
now.
order to make revenue? And so that's kind of where even for Shift, where we look at it for ourselves, the SEO on our website sucks. I know our website doesn't like show up in Google like search results and stuff like that. But what we have found is most clients find us through our content. LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube is where most of our clients come from. And so I could spend time taking this very weak thing, the SEO on our website, and trying to improve it. And I might get 2 or 3 clients from that. Or I could take that same energy, that same investment, dump it into what I know works for us, which is our content, and maybe generate 10, 20, 30 new clients from it and say, you know what? I don't care if the website has bad SEO because it's not a main channel for generating leads for us. What happens for a lot of business owners who don't understand marketing, and really I've seen this too, a lot of marketers who don't understand marketing, is they look at, here's all the problems. Our website doesn't have SEO. Someone reaches out from Google like, hey, we'll give you this free SEO audit to see if your website's doing okay. And they do it, and the audit's like, oh, this is all crap. You're not
Everything's
generating
terrible.
leads from your website. So yes, if I don't understand marketing, if I don't understand like who my ideal customers are and where they find me and what causes them to buy from me, I'm going to look at that and be like, oh crap, we need to fix that because it's costing us leads. I've had multiple SEO audits, like those free audits. Hey, here's some things I've seen on your website you should tweak. You want to jump on a call and talk about it? And I'm like, my response to them is always like, I know the SEO sucks. This isn't how we generate clients, so I'm not going to invest in it. I don't care if you could get me one or two more leads a month. I generate enough through our content. I don't need to spend the money on this to fix something that really isn't a problem. And so that's really when you talk about branding and positioning, that's really what we're doing, is figuring out, when it comes to everything else, when it comes to your marketing, when it comes to your sales, like what should that experience be? So you're doing minimal amount of work for maximum benefit. You don't need a marketing team of 20 people to market your business, because you have to do LinkedIn and blog posts and YouTube, and you also have to do direct mail, and you have to do like Google ads, and you have you have to do trade shows, and you have to do all this stuff. You don't. There are going to be a handful of channels that work that you'll understand once you start positioning. Um, and so that's really what it comes down to, is who are you going to be in the market, and what's that marketing experience need to be so the right people find you where they're spending their time. And that's what works. So we've got one client right now that spends $300,000 a year in print magazine ads. Now, if you would have told me before we started working with them that print magazine ads would be an amazing channel for them to find clients, I would have laughed at you. Most marketers would laugh at you. The problem is or not really the problem, but what we did is a positioning strategy for them. And we found out that 90% of their ideal customers read those two specific magazines in their industry. And so not being in those magazines means you're not top of mind. If you don't do positioning, you wouldn't know that. You would look at it and be like, well, we need SEO, we need content, that's what every marketer says right now. But when you understand the market and you understand the position you're trying to hold, it dictates where you spend your marketing time and dollars.
How do you know when you've cracked that positioning? Like, not like, sometimes you do stuff and you test it and you're trying stuff. And then sometimes it's a gut feeling. Sometimes you see, I mean, the easy answer is like, oh, money starts pouring in. But
Yeah.
before the money starts pouring in, the work that you're doing,
So
at some point you kind of go, I think we got it.
yeah, so for us, it's weird. I've maybe cracked something that I don't even fully understand that I've cracked yet. 90% of our clients start generating new revenue before we even have their messaging done. And so, obviously money is we've hit something here. But for us, a lot of our clients, when we do these workshops, once they understand their unique value, this thing that they're bringing to the market that their competitors can't or won't do, what happens is they'll jump into discovery calls and they'll just test it and say, okay, you've mapped out a new offer for me. I've got a discovery call tomorrow. We don't even have the offer built yet. I don't even know, like, if we actually sell it, I'm going to have to do this massive race to get this thing built, but I'm going to try it and see if what we've come up with actually works. And for, like I said, about 90% of our clients, they try this and they sell. And they're like, holy crap. Like, I've never
That
sold in a
works.
discovery call before. It's always been like 5 or 6 calls, and I sold it in 30 minutes. This is, I'm onto something. We're onto something here. And so now for some of our clients, that's just not possible. Like, we've got a client that does these giant vacuum pumps. They're used in like, simple example, if you look inside like a chip bag and they've got that like almost like aluminum coating, to get that coating inside the bag, you need this kind of furnace that's driven by a vacuum pump. Still, like, I understand it this much, like,
We've got clients like
my
that. Yeah,
client's
we've got lots
probably
of
going
clients
to
like that.
hear this and be like, that's totally
That
wrong,
is not what
Jason.
we do at all. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
we've explained this to you multiple times. That's not it. But like, so for them, their offer is like a $300,000 to $600,000 rebuild of a pump that might
yeah, you
cost
find
like
that off
$1
a
million.
discovery call.
You're not going to do that in a discovery call. So there's understanding like, okay, we're going to look at what has already made you money and see how we can adjust it, tweak it, make it easier to sell. That takes a little bit longer to see if the revenue is right. But and most businesses don't want to hear this. A lot of times it is just a gut feeling. When you have done the research and you know the market and you know your ideal customers, that gut feeling of like, I really think this is going to work tends to work. So it's like, a lot of times we see these marketing campaigns that people go gaga over. Or like they look at companies like a Liquid Death that's like, oh my gosh, how did they figure this out? It was a gut feeling.
There's a guess.
It
Yeah.
it really was. But the difference was they took that guess and they went all in on it. They didn't do this half-ass like, well, we'll kind of try it a little bit and see, like, we're not going to put the skull on the can right now. We'll make it easy. We'll make it like appeal to most people. We're not going to do this. They went all in. Everything around the company revolves around this idea of like, we're going to make water seem cool. Um, and that's the problem is a lot of companies, they get an idea and they want to test it to death without actually really testing.
Mhm.
For most small businesses, they don't have the time or the money to do a test the way it needs to be done. They maybe send a survey out to their clients and say, here's some new messaging we're thinking of. Tell us which one resonates with you. That's not a test. A test really is, here is our website. Here is like our product. Here's everything we're thinking. Let's go to the market with it and see if it makes money. Running running Google ads or LinkedIn ads or whatnot, you need months and hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually do a test correctly. We'll spend $1,000 and see what we get. That's not actually a test. That is like you dipping your toe in the water and being like, we're not going to build everything out. We're not even going to show pictures of what we're selling. Well, maybe a picture helps me understand it better. So if you're not going to do that part of it, you're not really testing this idea. You're scared to test it. And so you're trying to find excuses not to go all in. But those gut feelings, most of our brand strategies were built on a gut feeling between us and our client, and it's paid off. Because when you know your customer and you know that buying journey, you know what matters to them, you can make an educated guess to say, I really believe this is what's going to change their business, and it works. Um, like we did this with that website client I talked about earlier. What we did with their offer, they had this whole massive discovery process. I'm talking multiple meetings with their prospects, like they were meeting with marketing and sales and C-suite and all this to really understand what their client needed with the website. Because I think we've all had that experience with a website builder where like, they ask for basic information, they start building it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute, this needs to tie into our CRM. Can you do that? Well, yeah, but we didn't actually talk about that. So that's going to be an extra $2,000 if you want us to do that. Or, oh man, that means we're going to have to like delay this project and rebuild that and then do that. Like there's always that like, oh, we didn't know that. So they were doing all of these calls like in this process to be able to give them a full quote to say, this is for us to build it. And here's the amount of money that you're going to spend every month. Like you need active campaign. Well, which level do you need from them? Which subscription level? So how much is that going to cost you per month? And you need a subscription to this CRM, but you only need this level. So that's going to cost this much. So really what they're doing is saying, here's what we're going to build. Here's all the platforms. Here's the full cost. Here's the cost for us to develop it. So when you look at this proposal, you know everything you're going to get. They were doing all that work for free. And I was like, and they were struggling because they're like, we do all this work and then they don't sign a contract. And I'm like, well, yeah, you haven't given them a reason to. So what we said was, how about we take all of this discovery and we make it its own offer? And we say, what you're building out here is you're helping them nail down their tech experience. When someone visits our website or our MVP or whatever it is you're building, what's that full experience you want them to have? Why don't you get everyone in the company around the table and say, let's dream. Money's not an issue. What do we want to have happen? And then we can provide packages for you to say, hey, if you want the full Mac Daddy, everything we talked about, it's this. If you can live without points 1, 2, and 3, it's a lower cost. Here are your options. And I told them, build it in a way that they could take this document and they could go to any of your competitors and say, this is what I want built. And initially they were like, I mean, that sounds great, but what if they go to a competitor? And there's psychology behind this. Like, one, if I've already given you money for this, and we said, make this low cost. Like, I think they're charging $1,000 for it. So it's not even really paying for their time, but it's more of you've already given us your money. And this whole offer, it's a guide that they give you. It's a PDF, but ultimately it's a proposal is really what it comes down to. You are paying them to generate a proposal for you. What they have seen now, last time I talked to the owner of the company, they've sold 7 of these guides. Takes about a month to go through because it is multiple calls and they're doing testing and all that kind of stuff. But what they're seeing is every client so far that has gone through it and they finished the guide and they've had that final consultation has upsold into an offer. And the offers range anywhere from like, maybe it's a quick $10,000 landing page and an email funnel or something, all the way up to like, $50,000 website, MVP, all this kind of stuff. They're all upselling. They're all signing contracts because the psychology tells us if I've given you money and you've spent a month with my company, hearing all my desires, pulling out like, what do I actually want out of this? And you've mapped it out for me. It feels painful to take that and go anywhere else with it because I have to start that whole process over again. And if I go to a competitor that doesn't have that process, now all of a sudden I'm like, are you actually going to build what I want? Do you actually understand what I need? Because they took a month with me to understand what I need and build out a solution. You're going to do that in 30 minutes. I don't think you're going to be at the level of quality they are. So it's solved so many problems, but that was they're walking me through their process. Like we've got a Miro board and we're mapping that, like we do this call and then we do this and then we do that. Like we're mapping this all out. And it was this gut feeling of like, what if you just charged for the proposal and made it that its own offer? And what they do is they say, if you upsell, like if you sign the contract, we deduct the cost of the guide. So I'm like, to the client, if I upsell, that whole thing was free because you're giving me that discount on the bill. Now, whether or not it's actually a discount, or they're like, hey, we would normally charge 30, now we're going to charge 31. We're so like that. I don't know. That was kind of up to them. But it's like, it solves the problem of I'm actually getting what I want because you've taken the time to like workshop it with me, lay it out. I get to tweak it and all this stuff. I'm already giving you money, so I'm more likely to give you more money because there's that sunk cost. Like, I've given you money, you've spent the time with my company. It's going to be painful to go through this all again with someone else. I'm just going to stick with you. It was a gut feeling that generated, like if they charge $1,000 for each one, they've got multiple levels with it. They've done like, we do a basic, and then one is more of a, hey, we're going to build out the entire development timeline for you and stuff that costs more. So I don't know like how many of the clients did which package, but they made a minimum. If they charged $1,000 for every client, they made a minimum of $7,000 creating proposals.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And it's something we do too when we build out what we call growth plans for people. It's really a pretty comprehensive deep dive and marketing strategy. And at
Yeah.
the end, you get like, okay, here's all of the stuff we talked about, and here's a prioritized list of all the projects and we, the first time I showed a client this spreadsheet that we made that really shows here's all the work that you have to go do, and here's how the cost associated with each one, and that the impact we think will happen from each one is a very overwhelming spreadsheet. It's cognitive murder. Like, you look at it and you're just like, but what I was shocked by is I showed that to people, and the first thing they were like, oh, the relief of them feeling like, oh, thank God you know what to do.
Yeah.
And so we build that out in a similar fashion to the client you were just talking about, which is like, you could take this and go execute. It's everything you need to go and execute. You can either, do it with us, or you could take it. You could hire another agency, go hire a whole marketing team, whatever you need to do. And again, very similar. The answer is usually like, well, you guys know, we don't know, right? Like,
Right.
so there's this kind of, and it ties into this other kind of, I guess, psychological piece that I found very, the batting percentage has to be pretty high, which is when you uncover insights about people's companies that they don't know, they immediately go like, oh, wow. And it could be something like super easy that they just missed or don't even understand part of marketing or whatever, right? But when you find these things and you uncover it, you're like, hey, I think this could have a big impact. It builds this trust, I think, immediately, where they're like, I'm in good hands. And then what I thought would overwhelm them with details, and again, they're not reading this whole thing, but it gives them this sense of, whew, okay, good. You guys seem to know what to do. And the conversion rates like skyrocketed off of those. And it's more than a proposal. Like, it's like 8 weeks worth of work that we do to build them this huge plan. And they actually could take it away and go do it. But they never do. Right? They're never going to do it. They're like, take more money. Just you guys do that for us.
Yeah. And it's a brilliant, like, when you know that the problem your ideal customers face is they don't know what they don't know. And that's what scares them. That's what stops them. That's what, like, they get on calls with a marketing agency or an ads agency, and they're just like, I don't actually know if this is what I should do. And then they hesitate and they're like, okay, this sounds good, but that's a lot of money. And is this the right, like, if that's the thought they have in their head, is this the right thing I should do after getting off a discovery call? Like, building an offer that shows them this is the right thing to do. We're not actually doing the thing yet. We're just helping you figure out what is the thing that you should do. That sells. And when you know that, you can take this offer that you have. Like, my clients had a brilliant offer. Like, they've been successful. I think they've been around for 3-4 years. Like, they've been successful with this. They've made money. but they were struggling to get people to buy. And they're like, we just don't understand why. I'm like, because they don't know what they don't know. And if
They
you
don't
can
need. They
show
don't know that
them,
they need it.
yes, if you can show them like, this is what you want to build. This is like based on all of our calls. This is what you need. This is how to build it. You just jump them over a giant cognitive dissonance of like, I don't know. And it's scaring me. It's pausing me. Like, that's why if you map that out and say, I know now, this is exactly what you want. This is exactly what you need. Here's the cost. All of a sudden, I trust you. And I know that your offer is going to get me what I need because you've taken the time up front to say, this is what you like. This is where you're struggling. This is what you need to do. All of that fear of giving you my money is gone now.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant. It really is. But
Yeah,
you're not going to know that if you don't know your ideal customers.
100%. And people are not going to invest if they don't know what the problem is. And that's, kind of the whole job of positioning is like making you aware that the symptoms that you're actually trying to solve for are being caused by a thing and helping them realize that. And I think where people, think about treating all the symptoms all the time, that's when they come at you with like, oh, we need blogs and we need Facebook and we need this and we need that. Like, well, why? And then you get underneath and then you figure out like these clients, it's like, oh, they don't know that they need that. So we have to help them understand that. And then once they realize that, they're like, oh shit, that's what was causing all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then we can figure those pieces out later. But let's work on this. It's kind of like the analogy, I don't know if you've heard of this one, but it's like, are you selling painkillers or vitamins? Right? Like vitamins are what, everybody, you should do it, right? And it is, long term, it's going to keep you healthy, and that's great. But what do people like put their money down on? It's painkiller. Like, I'm in pain right now, and if they don't know that pain, they don't know why, they're just spending all their money on vitamins, right? And so it's like it's a lot easier to say no to vitamins if I don't know what the problem is. But if there's a painkiller that's going to solve this thing right now for me, I'll take it.
Right. Yeah. And that, like, when you don't know your ideal, like, I say this to all of our clients. I say this a lot in my content as well. The foundation of everything in business, understand your ideal clients. Like, even positioning, I used to think like brand strategy and positioning, that's the foundation. It's like, no, because you can't even build that correctly if you don't understand your ideal customers. The more you know them, the pains that they understand and the pains that they don't understand. Like for us, most of our clients don't see brand as the solution to their problem. They see it as, we need more salespeople, or we need to hire a marketing agency to do more marketing. Now, they don't understand what that actually means or looks like. They're just like, we're not generating leads, so we need someone to come in and do marketing for us. And so they hire a marketing agency, they do content, they like run Google ads or whatever, and nothing's working. And it's usually in that space where it's like, we've worked with marketing agencies, they haven't been able to generate help. We realize we need more. We need something deeper. We don't just need marketing. We need to understand our business and what we're actually selling. That's usually the space where they come in and meet us. Knowing that, I have been able to shape all of my content and all of our marketing around this idea of marketing is not the answer. Like, more lead. I did a video the other day on LinkedIn. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. That's like, more leads is not the answer. Got like 500 likes or whatever, because people were like, I just thought if I got more leads, it would fix my business. And I'm like, no, more
Treating a symptom.
leads. If you don't know this unique value, if you don't know why people buy from you, more leads could actually damage your business because they think you have the answer. They talk to you, you can't explain it, you can't solve their problem, and they're like, nope, check mark, going to put them in the category of do not talk to again because they don't know what they're doing. Well, now you're screwed because there's a bunch of people out there that think you can't solve their problem even if you can. So understanding, when people ask me like, what's the what's the number one thing I can do for my business? And I'm like, know your ideal customers. You do that, everything else starts to become clear. How do I position myself? How do I market myself? How do we, like, what's the offer we should bring? The more you know them, the clearer that gets. So spend that time really getting to know your ideal customers.
One of one of the key factors in or key elements of design for delight, which is the innovation methodology created by Scott Cook, who built Intuit and Quicken and all those things. There's three elements. First one is deep customer empathy. And so being lucky enough to be trained on that very early in my career, and Intuit's a very kind of customer centric company. They
Yeah.
really live it in a thousand different ways, from going to small businesses and watching them just work for a day, and trying to understand, how does QuickBooks fit into their life? Like, what are they actually, oh, that's interesting. They're using it to do this, and it's not intended to do that, but they're using it as the centralized kind of thing. They bring in customers all the time to do panels, to chat, to talk to people. So that's like been ingrained in me since the very beginning. And um, it's difficult to get everybody to buy into that sometimes,
Yeah.
or get them to like understand the value of it. And it wasn't until I worked at Strategizer with Alex Osterwalder, and he had and really getting to know the value proposition canvas, and really getting deep on that. I don't know if you've ever used it, but the the lay the amount of people who get it right away, once you put it into like, here are their jobs, pains, and gains, and here are the things you do to relieve those pains, create the
Yeah.
gains, and deliver the service. That visual connection is like, that's the painkiller, right? Like, that is, you show
Yeah.
them that, you write that down, and they get it. Um, do you have any tools or ways that people can start to get more customer centric, can think about their customer in that way, without, you know, just to get their head into that space?
Yeah. So we do, like, when we do a project with a client, a lot of times we'll do customer interviews. So we're kind of engaging with their customers, stuff like that. We do have a free guide on our website. It's our customer persona template that kind of walks you through how do you how do you get to know your customers on a deeper level. And it really, in a lot of cases, it depends on the industry, because we've worked with some clients where, like, their customers are not active on social. Or when they are active on social, it has nothing to do with work. Like, one of our clients is a food processing equipment manufacturer. Most of their customers don't like, either aren't on social media. Like, they have a LinkedIn profile, but they don't even have a profile picture up. I mean, we're talking like, it's there because they were told they had to have one, but they don't do anything with it. They don't actually log in. And so, I mean, there's tools to, like, do social listening to hear some of their problems. What are they complaining about? But if they're not on there, um, it's why we developed out that tool to help our customers understand, like, this is where you go to learn about your customers. And one of the best things you can do is just talk to them. Like, most founders don't want to hear that because it's time. I have to set up a time to talk to a customer, ask them how they found us, ask them what they liked, what they did, how are you using our solution, whatever that might be. People don't want it, it's critiques, and people don't like to be critiqued.
Mhm.
But it's one of the best things you can do to really understand those clients.
And so easy, really,
Yeah.
ultimately. They'll tell
Yeah.
you if you go, or if
Oh,
you ask them,
100%.
or even better, watch them and see what they're
Yeah.
doing and how they're doing it, and combine those two things. Because I think, think about this back to your testing point, which is like, you can run all these tests, but if you don't actually like put the money down to buy the thing, it doesn't prove that you wanted it, right? You can tell me, oh, I'd pay
Right.
$50 for that. Okay, cool. Give me $50. That's a different conversation. Right. And so,
Right. Right.
it's bringing that through to this kind of knowing who they are, knowing what they do, and knowing, we do this one piece in our brand workshop where we help them build out basically like a character, right, of who the person is. Like, tell us about, where do they live?
Yeah.
What do they do on the weekend? How do they do? And the purpose isn't to be like, oh, this is all 100% accurate, we're going to build everything around this. It's to make them think, oh, it's a
Yeah.
person. It's not it's not a male for 35 to 40 who sits at a desk and lives in Calgary and has a boat and like that's not who they are.
Yeah.
They are a guy who didn't want to get up and go to work today, who is just trying to get his boss off his back, and he's doing 50 different things and nobody helps him and nobody appreciates. That's the person you're trying to sell. Even in B2B, you're selling it to a person. And if you don't
Yes.
figure out who they are and what makes them tick, and so when we do these value value proposition design kind of workshops with these things, it's like list all their pain points. You may not be able to solve them all, but understand what
Right.
they're going through and figure
Yeah.
out what that person's dealing with. And if you can just take away one or two of those pain points, look how much easier their day gets. Right. And helping them figure out, like, it's a person, no matter what you're doing, people buy from people. They do. And if you understand them better, then you can have all the messaging in the world. Right. But if it misses, if it's not for me, then I'm not going to hear it.
Right.
So it's really difficult to get that layer of like that depth of kind of like customer empathy through. And I think even in brand, you hear brand strategy. Like, we start our brand strategy workshops being like, we can't make you a brand. We
Yeah.
can't. We can make you a brand strategy. We can help you do
Yeah.
this, but how you live it, how it comes to life through your decision making as a company, how, beyond just your website or whatever, but like, do you actually operate like that? Do you actually, put these things that you say are
Well,
important?
and really a brand isn't something that you create. I don't know like how you guys define brand, but like we use Marty Neumeier's definition with a tweak. He describes a brand as the gut feeling that people have about you, your business, or your product. It's a gut feeling. It's how I feel about you, and I've tweaked it to be more like a brand is the gut feeling people have about your business based on every interaction they have with you. So when I see your content on LinkedIn, it starts creating this like perception of who you are in my mind. And then like I jump to your website and the colors that you use is like, oh, okay. Like, he uses black and pink and that feels like trendy and cool, or they're using peacock green and purple in cartoons. Like they're kind of funny. Like it all starts blending in and starts creating this feeling I have about you that is through every time I pick up the phone, every time I email you, every interaction with your company creates this gut feeling. And so it's not something I can build for you. I can give you the strategy. I can tell you like, hey, here's what you do that's unique in the market. Here's the feeling that your customers need to feel in every interaction so they trust you and they want to buy this thing. But if you don't do it, your brand is not going to be what we want it to be. You have a brand, it lives in their minds, but if you're not doing what we laid out, you're not creating the brand that you think you're creating in their minds. You might be using messaging that you're like, I'm not going to update our website. Well, great. That confusing messaging tells them, you don't get me. I don't understand you. So bye. You're
And then
done.
the worst part is,
You're not even a consideration anymore.
right. And then what are they going to tell other people? Right.
Yes.
And so Scott Cook always said, the brand isn't what you tell your customers is, it's what your customers tell each other
Yeah.
it is. And so, that's to me always, you can boil that down to that. Like, how do people think, feel, and what do they say about you when you're not in the room? And that's, from a personal brand level to, a company or a team or anything. So I just want to be cognizant of time here. I know we're running short. This is a great conversation. I could talk about this stuff with you all day long.
Yep.
And most, marketers and brand strategists usually do. So listen, thanks so much for doing it. Where can people go and find you if they want to hear more of your brilliance?
Yeah. The best place is probably LinkedIn. Just look up Jason Vanna. You'll see my beautiful face, all my videos on there. You can also check out our website, which is SHFT, shift without an I, just SHFT, because we're trying to be cool. .agency. We've got a bunch of free resources, like an email course that teaches you what unique value is and how to find it. Those would be the two. We also have an email newsletter that you can sign up for on the website, where we give this kind of tips and advice every single week to help you build the right brand in people's minds and really understand what makes you the only. So those would be the 3 best places to connect with us.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Looking forward to watching the rest of your content, whether it's sassy or not. And some people will get that and some people won't.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for
Thank you,
having me
sir.
on. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, that's it. That was my conversation with Jason Vanna from SHFT Agency. We could have gone on and on all day, but we had to cut it off. And I think there were some amazing insights from that conversation, stuff I've already started to think about and apply in my day-to-day just from talking to him about them. So hopefully you found it as useful as I did. Please subscribe to The Strategy of Everything on Spotify, on YouTube. Feel free to like and comment and share it with your friends and do all of that great stuff. It really does help us out. So until next time, this is The Strategy of Everything, and we'll see you soon.